Okay, so when it comes to presenting imagery, whether that's artist imagery or it could be our own artwork or secondary images, we want to do this in the most creative way that we can, as well as that maybe trying to gain some points for showing our understanding of the artist. So I'm just going to show a few examples now, and then I'm going to do some examples as well. So first of all, this is just a title for one of my projects, and what I've done, I have carefully cut around it, but I've tried not to be too perfect. I've tried to like use those sort of organic forms, the nice curves, and I've cut around it in that nice curvy way. Then I've mounted it on top of a colour that's appropriate. So human anatomy, I've mounted it on top of red, which reminds me of, it makes me think of the inside of the body, so blood, muscles, things like that. So I feel that's very relevant. Another example of good presentation. So this is an artist image by Gunther von Hagens. He does look at the structure of the body, of the anatomy, and we can see in this image here that there is veins, arteries. So what I have done, I've carefully cut the image out, I've placed it on top of a relevant colour, which is red, and then just for a little bit of texture, I've torn around the edges. I've then got a pen and I've started to draw some of the lines that I can see. I've used different line weights, and instead of using the artist's name, which is printed, I know this is not the same artist, but instead of using that, I've just written his name nice and neatly. So there's one example. The next example I'm going to show you, this is artwork by Leonardo da Vinci. I've used very appropriate colours, so the brown colours, I've used brown packaging, I've used brown colour pencil in the background. On this one I've used charcoal in the background because he would draw with chalks, pastels, so I've used that in the background. And then I've changed my font when I've written his name, and I've used a joined up handwriting for that one. So that's Leonardo da Vinci. Another nice example is that I've cut into the image. I haven't just cut it square like this one. On this one I've actually cut into the image just to give it a little bit of shape. Another example, this is the artist Ezra Royce. So I've looked at the style which she's used, which is quite expressive. She's got drippy paint, she's got scraped paint. Could have did lots of different things, but what I've done for this one, I've ripped some paper which, when it's on top of a background, I think will look really nice. So I've tried to mimic those sort of expressive marks in the background by ripping up just black sugar paper. I really like that one. The next example that I will show you is by an artist called Trisha Thompson. She has a lot of floral patterns within her work. So I've drawn some petals, cut them out and placed them around the edge. I've even done some little drawings to add a little bit of detail. I could take that loads further, but I'll just keep it simple with a couple of petals. The next example that I'm going to show you, this is a really, really quick one. So this is the Flying Shoes Studio, and here's an example of their work. All I'm going to do is use book paper in the background because it's very relevant. There's lots of different things that I could use. I could use coffee staining, tea staining. I could use different types of found paper, so music paper would be a nice one. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue on the back of that image. I'm going to place it carefully onto the book paper. The reason I've placed it in the middle, I wouldn't normally encourage you to do that. I'd encourage you to use the edge. I do want to get the writing in, and I'm going to rip around the edge just to add a different texture. So making sure that all those edges are stuck down. I might add a little border to make it stand out. Because the this studio, they do draw onto dictionary paper, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I've used a little bit of charcoal. I can use a bit of colour pencil, so I'm picking up the red tones. And then I'm going to use red pen for this one, but I'm just going to actually write on top of the picture. I don't feel like I have to be too neat in doing that, because the actual artists themselves graffiti onto dictionary paper. And then I'm doing a very controlled rip around the edge. So you can place this thumb where you don't want the paper to rip. So I don't want to get rid of my charcoal. Place my thumb over it. And there we go. I really like that one, so add that to my pile. I'm going to do another demonstration. I always encourage my students to keep any scraps of paper where they've maybe sampled. Samples are fantastic to go on top of your mood boards, but I love these samples to actually be background, so I really like that. So what I'm going to do, I might actually cut out circles. I'm just going to use my Pritt Stick lid and very lightly draw where I'm going to cut. I'm just taking some of these nice samples that I've created. So nothing at all goes to waste. Never throw anything away, even if it's scrap bits of paper like this. Always keep it, always comes in useful. So I like the idea of actually presenting them straight onto the mood board, just like this, and I might put some black circles around the images and the samples. So I'm just going to get one more sample. This one's still wet, so I don't want that one. So I might present them like this, and then even use a white colour pencil just to write Clary Reese, just to label that it's her artwork. So that's another thing that you can do. Another background that I'm going to create, this is Meow Culp. So for this background, I am going to a really simple one. I'm just going to pick up on the colours that he's using. Which are nice and blended. I'm going to use chalk pastels to achieve that colour. So I'm going to use, I really like the hot orange, the bright yellow, and the red, maybe a bit of blue. I've got a lovely blend of colours. I can place my image on top. And then I'm just going to cut round it. I'm just going to try and do something a little bit more organic, and if I don't like it, then I'm just going to cut it nice and straight. So sometimes it's nice to have a little experiment, try things out, and if it doesn't work, I do like that. If it doesn't work, you can always try something different. So I'm going to get the artist's name, and then this time I might use a blue. And there we go, there's a very colourful background for that. So have an experiment, try and show your artist understanding as best as you can.